I don't have my coffee.
Oh my God. Oh. Should I leave this in? The get ready ASMR moment? Welcome back. I'd do that, but I already brought mine in here. I'm not behind the 8 ball.
You got to keep me on track.
I do. Hi, I'm Rachel.
I'm a wild card.
Hey, I'm Rachel.
And I'm wild card.
Welcome to the Strange and Beautiful Book Club. We did it. We fucking finished The Dark Tower. I mean, we got that one short story left, but we finished the Dark Tower series, y'all.
Woo!
We've actually never finished an entire series for the pod, I don't think. We always do the first 3, and then they were like, well, good, we did that. Which sort of fits how I read.
Dune is the longest series we've tackled.
We didn't finish it. We only got up to the 3rd one.
Yeah.
We did Messiah. We did the first 3 Dark Tower books. That's why I was like, we're going to start finishing some series. And
yeah.
Do I regret my decision? No.
No.
I mean, I'm glad I finished it. I know myself. I know I would not have read past Wizard and Glass if I had not been reading it for the pod. And I am thankful that I did because...
Was it worth it?
It ended up being worth it. Yeah. It did. Oh my God. He got me fucking 3 times in this book. 3 times I'm sobbing on the front porch trying to sit now. Oh, I'm going to have a cup of coffee. I'm going to relax. I'm going to read the book. Sobbing. Fucking sobbing.
At least my sobbing was listening to the audiobook out in the backyard.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, it's fine. You can have emotions. You can have emotions even as a man, surprisingly. Mm-hmm. And
no.
You know how hard it is for a book to make me cry? I haven't ugly cried at a book like this since I read The Man in the Iron Mask and Porthos dies. And I don't even remember why it was so sad.
Porthos dies?
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. I've spoiled it.
You've kept it secret from me for
this whole time. And it just tumbled right. And he dies heroically. It's really sad.
Okay.
The only way Porthos could have died, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I did take a minute and I want to discuss this concept before we continue because I think it's relevant for later. Because, Stephen King peppered The Dark Tower into a lot of books. And I'm not going to lie, I can't even think about the concept of going through and finding all the books that are related to The Dark Tower and then reading those because it starts to feel like the Marvel rat race. Where you gave me movies and I was totally fine when all I had to do was watch the movies. But once you had movies and TV shows, fuck it. I can't fucking do it. I can't. I just don't. I literally cannot do that. That is beyond my capabilities. Not just because the time involved, but also I just can't. I struggle so hard to watch new media. And now you want me to watch both movies and TV shows. And if I don't do all of that, I won't get all the information. I just quit. I just fucking quit.
Yep.
So I watched the movies, a.k.a. read the Dark Tower book. The idea of going through and picking out, I can't right now. So what I did do was Google. I Googled Patrick Danville because I knew he was in a book because in the book they tell us he's in another book.
Yeah.
He's in Insomnia. And I was like, well, okay, how does he, because he's a kid in this book, maybe? We don't actually know how old he is, but we don't know how long he's been there. So I was like, how can he be in the other book and then be in this book? So I looked it up, and this is the point that I really wanted to get to, which is in Insomnia, he's tangentially in it, but the main character sees these little, he calls them little bald doctors, and they are agents of the Crimson King. And they discussed with him the concept of purpose and random. So I looked it up.
In the context of the Dark Tower?
In the context of the Dark
and
Tower.
The beam.
So the agents of purpose, 2 of the little doctors are agents of purpose. And they're a bit like the Fates in Greek mythology, where they sever strings, life strings, on purpose. Because sometimes you die. Sometimes it sends you to other worlds than these, like with Jake.
Right.
That is what they do. And then there's also agents of random, and they will slash a string.
And there are agents of random.
Yeah.
Okay.
They cause chaos. And they will like slash a string, which may not kill you immediately, but will lead you down a path where you will have some sort of dramatic, chaotic death, or you will cause some sort of chaos.
Okay.
So agents of chaos effectively are agents of evil. Agents of purpose are effectively agents of good, more or less. I guess he defines them as like red and black squares on a checkerboard. And they only exist because the other one exists.
Okay.
If you didn't have the contrast, there would be no purpose in random. If there was no purpose, there'd be no random.
Mm-hmm.
And they're like minor agents of random. And people can be minor agents of purpose or random. But then there's also high agents of purpose or random. Like the Crimson King or it would be high agents of random.
Okay.
Where their entire purpose is simply to cause chaos. Whereas like Machuron, the turtle, or Gan, presumably, would be agents of higher purpose. So they are maintaining order. And I thought that was like, okay, it made me feel a little better about the Crimson King, because the Crimson King feels so plot devicey. Like he's literally just to give Roland a moment of pause before he can actually get to the tower.
Right.
And I was like,
a final boss for the sake of having a final boss.
It was exactly what it felt like. It felt again like Wolves of the Kala, where he did so much leveling up that
Roland has always been over-leveled.
Yeah, he's always been over-leveled, which is why he usually lets other people handle it, because then there's conflict. Otherwise, he'd just kill everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it was fine. I don't have any real issues with the ending or anything. It was like, oh no, Suzanne is pregnant. She's still pregnant. Guess what, you guys? She's still pregnant. And then, oh no, she had the baby. Oh my God. And then they're like, oh, this is Mordred. He's going to kill his father. And they're like, okay, woohoo, this is going to be all right. He's sufficiently creepy. He kills Randall Flagg. He's a badass motherfucker. Okay. And then he dies of food poisoning. And you're like, okay. Thanks, Steve. I don't know what to do with this. It's, I don't know. It's like the 90 seconds that went nowhere. It's just.
So normally the phrase goes, you don't beat a dead horse.
Yeah.
But in the case of Mordred, don't eat a dead horse.
Especially a dead horse that's been in the snow and is not frozen. It's like.
It's melting the snow around it.
Gross. So I did tab relevant parts of this book as I went through it so that I could kind of guide our discussion, because I felt like this was going to be so big.
I feel like you should post a picture, a side shot of your copy of the Dark Tower.
I did. You can go on Instagram and see it. I deliberately tilted it so you could see the pictures.
So when she says she tagged relevant parts, it's like 40% of the book.
It's not. Well, it helps me to remember what happened, because my God, this motherfucker was dense.
A lot happened.
This took me the whole month to read it. We got done with the last one and I was like, okay, well, that was pretty short. I should be able to knock out the Dark Tower. We can get ahead on episodes. This will be great. And then I had to keep reading a couple chapters and then being like, okay, I need to breathe. You cannot just sit down and crush this book. If you did, all kudos to you. I could not. It was so dense. A lot happens. First of all, Per Callahan dies on like page 19.
Yeah.
Yeah, he dies like fucking immediately, which that's not where my first tab is. Let's start where my first tab is. This is Jake went to what he was sure would be his death, remembering two things. Roland Deschain, his true father, had said, "Battles that last 5 minutes spawn legends that last 1,000 years, and you needn't die happy when your time comes, but you must die satisfied, for you have lived your life from beginning to end, and Ka is always served." And that's at the very beginning when he's going to he's going to save Susanna, because at the end of the last book, Susanna got taken off, and she was in labor, and oh no, she's having her baby.
Yeah, and Callahan
Jake and Callahan are
go
standing
after her.
outside the Dixie Pig.
Yep.
And that's where we pick up in this one. And they have the turtle, the little sculpida, whatever, which just means turtle, I think. And they end up
Scrimshaw turtle
going in there, and Callahan dies. Like, there's a bunch of vampires, first of all. He was like, well, I got vampires in my universe. I'm not going to fucking waste it. Everything's a vampire at this point. And we get, like, Tahine are the things with the weird heads.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess, what does he call the things that wear flesh masks?
I don't remember.
Cantoi.
Yes.
And that's from another book, apparently. So this is chock full. This is like a Stephen King fan thing of himself. The fan service for himself. And I will admit, I haven't read that many. I've read some, but apparently I haven't read any that relate back to this except Salem's Lot. So, I mean, bully for me, I guess. I do have Hearts in Atlantis, but I have not read it. And I was trying to explain to Matt, I was like, it's the one, the movie with he was like, Anthony Hopkins. I was like, yes, with Anthony Hopkins.
No, you told me Anthony Hopkins. I had no idea what Hearts in Atlantis was.
Okay, that's Ted Branagh again, or whatever, is from this, which I kind of want to read Hearts in Atlantis now because I did not like him in this book. And I feel like, is he deeply unlikable in Hearts of Atlantis too? So this was good. I liked this moment with Jake and Per Callahan for one particular reason. And we kind of did this in Song of Susanna, where they're facing down Black 13.
Mm-hmm.
And Per Callahan is like, I don't need a sigil. I don't need anything. I can do it with my faith alone.
Yeah.
Because that is his downfall in
Salem's
Lot. Is Barlow asks him to cast aside his cross, and he's like, oh shit, I can't, because his faith has become the cross. Like, he feels like he needs the cross. Like, it's
necessary for him.
Right. So this is his growth moment where he's like, I don't need it. I'm bigger than that. I'm better than that. I don't need this. And he revisits that in this one where he's like, I don't need that to stop you guys. I can do it. I can use my faith without needing a sigil of my faith, sigil of my faith to be able to stop you.
Yeah.
It says the shadow of shame that had hung over him ever since Barlow had taken his cross and broken it was gone. Free at last, he thought, free at last. Great God Almighty, I'm free at last. So he gets a redemption arc.
Yeah.
Callahan gets, which you wouldn't expect from a character from a book that was published so long ago. And then he pops back up almost specifically to get this redemption arc because he's gone almost immediately and we don't really revisit his death in any meaningful way.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody else, their death impacts the course of the quartet, but Per was never in the quartet. He was just like quartet adjacent.
Alongside.
Yeah. He says, I needn't stake my faith on the challenge of such a thing as you, Sai. And I'd never throw away such an old friend in any case, but put it away, if you like. And he dropped it back in his shirt. It's his, cross. Because they're like, put your cross away, because it worked last time. And I love how much of a problem Black 13 isn't.
Right?
Because they're like, it's so big. Oh, it's such a big thing. And Wolves of the Kala, like, oh no, is it going to wake up? What's going to happen? We got to keep it asleep. Oh no, it's the most evil of all the balls of all the wizard glass.
I feel like a lot of the plot lines, a lot of the antagonist plot lines are more the implication of how much could go wrong if the protagonists make bad choices.
Right.
If anybody got seduced by Black 13, it would be horrific.
Right.
Because they have main character energy. And Black 13 can use that
to destroy them. Yeah.
And have a larger impact across the
I thought we were going to go back for it. I thought when Roland was in New York, he was going to get it. I thought I figured it would have another role to play. I'm just used to there being.
No, it just got buried under.
I'm just used to like, oh, you introduced
World Trade
this
Center.
world-changing weapon. We're going to use it. And they're like, nah, we're going to stick it in a locker bra. And then it's going to get destroyed when the towers come down.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, great. Done. Let's never talk about it again. This was my favorite line. The Sculpida tumbled to the red rug, bounced beneath one of the tables, and there, like a certain paper boat some of you may remember, passes out of this tale forever. That's sort of emblematic of how he treated a lot of the things that he introduced in the book. He would introduce these really big, like this tiny carved scrimshaw turtle that can control people's minds. And then they're like, well, anyway, yoink! And it's just like,
oops.
Whoopsie doodle. I seem to have dropped it under a table. Well, I'm not going back for that. And later, Roland goes in there and he's like, the turtle's probably in here somewhere. And then he's like, fuck it. He just leaves.
Who needs it?
Who needs it?
I'm fucking Roland of Gilead.
And then he dies because they surround him. They're going to defeat him. And he ends up killing himself. Yeah. He's like, I'd rather. He goes, Heil Roland. Heil Gunslinger. And then he's like, the teeth of his old enemies, these ancient brothers and sisters of a thing which had called itself Kurt Barlow, sank into him like stingers. Callahan felt them not at all. He was smiling as he pulled the trigger and escaped them for good. I was like, you know what, another thing that he did, he being Stephen King. I mean, he's in this book, so I feel like I need to clarify, but I'm talking about his writing in this book. Mm-hmm. Is he used a lot of second person asides where he would, in parentheses or even in chapter headings, have a whole section where he talked about you. You are walking down. If you were here, you would see.
Yeah.
A dusty man walking down a road or whatever. Or that little parentheses in that paragraph I just read where it's like, like a certain paper boat you might remember.
Second person writing.
Yeah.
In the context of almost all writing is first person or third person.
You would feel challenged to find second person. We, as readers, would feel challenged to find a good use of second person. Mm-hmm. Probably the most classic use, the one that would come to mind when most people think about it, is the choose your own adventure books.
Yeah.
You walk down this hallway. Do you open the door or not? If you open the door, go to page whatever. If you don't, go to this. It makes it feel a little bit like a choose your own adventure book. Like you are participating in the story, which is, I think, what the point of the whole thing was. Like you're riding along with these characters and you are actually riding along with these characters. Like this is happening in real time and you're experiencing it. And it works out really, really good. The only other book I can think of that has second person is Nona the Ninth, which I would love to read for the podcast eventually. Gideon the Ninth's the first one. Then I think there's another one. Then Nona the Ninth. And she is so traumatized by the events of the first book that she steps back from her own life and experiences it in second person. And that's the only one that I can only other one that I can think of. And only Stephen King would be like, you know what I'm going to throw in the very last book in an entire series? An entirely different perspective, or an entirely different style. I'm going to write this one in totally stylistically differently than I did the entirety of the rest of the Dark Tower series.
My hunch is that Stephen King experiences a lot of the Dark Tower in second person perspective.
Yeah, like he's watching a movie. I think that's exactly what's happening. But to include it is really interesting because up until this point, well, the first couple of books are just, they're just, hey, I watched a Western. I think it'd be really cool. And then over time, it has morphed into this exploration of his own mortality because that's definitely what it feels like.
Yeah.
And I think we mentioned this a lot in Song of Susanna because he wrote these right after he was struck by the car.
Yeah.
And he had to have been laying there like, fuck, I have all these things. I never finished my story. Like I didn't finish the Dark Tower. He doesn't really have any other series. He has that city, that fictional town where he has things take place, and they will sometimes relate back to each other.
Right, but there's not an overarching
There's
plot.
not like this is the only one that he has. And it's only Stephen King could have written this series,
Right.
honestly, because if any other writer wrote 7 books that feel like they were all written by a different person, you'd be like, the fuck is this shit? But with Stephen, you're like, anything is possible.
Isaac Asimov could have done it.
I don't know. I think he was too analytical.
Well, and I mean, he had the similar foundation of just a wide spectrum of books that he'd published that were all different stories that could be loosely interconnected
Yeah.
supernaturally, but he didn't have the
I think if you read an Isaac
audacity,
Asimov book,
the vibe,
I just don't.
inspiration.
Yeah, he didn't have the vibe.
the
The
chutzpah.
chutzpah. Yeah, he didn't have the he wouldn't have. He just wouldn't have because it was not about. It was about conveying the idea,
Right.
and the way of telling the story was separated. They were not linked. And I feel like for Stephen King, for The Dark Tower specifically, the style in which he writes the book and how he is trying to convey the information are intrinsically linked.
Mm-hmm.
The style is intentional. It has meant to feel, whether it was intentional at the beginning or not, like we are slowly being drawn personally into the story.
Mm-hmm.
It has become more and more about speaking to his readers as time goes on.
Yeah.
And I think that's intentional. And I think his switch up of the style is intentional because it keeps you paying attention to the way he is writing as much as what he is writing.
Yeah.
Kind of like if you're in some place and there's a smell, you get used to it. He didn't want you to get used to it. He wanted you to be aware of his writing. And to do that, he switched it up. And he also, this is like a playground. It was a sandbox.
Mm-hmm.
These are sandbox books for him. He was trying out new and different things every single time he wrote them. And one of the things he loves to do is introduce a secondary character that you're never going to see again. And he just broad stroke, swoop, swoop, here's an entire person somehow. Because Stephen King that's one of his superpowers is he can give you a character in a paragraph. And you're like, cool, I know everything about this person. Thank you, Stephen.
Yeah.
And then he can go on to tell 2 or 3 chapters from that character's point of view. And then they are discarded.
Yeah.
But it's a way of him showing his characters outside their own heads.
Mm-hmm.
So he does a lot of third person limited, if you want to talk about points of view, where you're not Eddie, not I, Eddie, he, but only Eddie. Or
Right.
Jake, not I, Jake, he, but only Jake. So you're not, and he doesn't head hop very often. Although we did get a couple of chapters from Oi's point of view.
Yeah.
Which was really cute and really sad at the very end. Oh my God, we're going to get there. We're going to get there because we very quickly get the party back together. It does not take very long because it turns out Susanna can take care of her damn self.
Which is one of the things I really appreciated about Susanna in this book.
Yeah.
Especially in contrast to your criticisms of the Susanna character, because once she got pregnant, it was all about her being pregnant.
Yeah.
And you hate that
Yeah.
for a female character.
Right.
And so kind of the end of the last book and this book, Susanna's character is getting into situations, but then it's like in, there was a movie, I think it was one of the DC movies where they had a bunch of the villains.
Yeah.
And the group of guys shows up to rescue Margot Robbie's character. And she's already broken herself out and they're getting ready to break in and she shows up and she's like, "What are you doing here?" And they're like, "We're here to rescue you." And she's like, "Oh my God, you guys came to rescue me? I can go back in so you can rescue me if you want." But she'd already saved her own damn self.
Suicide Squad.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Just like Susanna. I love how she's sitting there like, okay, well, that's my gun now. It's in that guy's holster, but it's mine.
Yeah. It's all about mindset, visualization.
Right. And she ends up not waiting, but getting caught up in the moment of Mordred being born. And I thought it was interesting that when they go through the door, they split. And so Susanna was only ever like spiritually pregnant because Mia was pregnant and Susanna merely experienced it. And so when
It was Susanna's body that was growing the cells,
yeah,
but they were all getting transferred into Mia.
yeah. So when they split, Mia's heavily pregnant. Susanna's not pregnant anymore at all. But they have to like link to fully transfer everything. And so at first she's experiencing labor with Mia. And then Mia is the only one experiencing labor.
And then the last few cells of Mordred end up inside of Mia. And then Susanna's not needed anymore.
Right. And so they end up having Mordred. Mordred kills Mia.
Eats her.
Eats her, like immediately. And Susanna's like, oh, that bitch. She gets the guy's gun and she kills a bunch of them and shoots off one of Mordred's legs because he turns into a giant spider. And gives him a
scar on his side, yeah.
Which he has for the rest of his life. So it's interesting because at the very beginning, we have to get everybody together. So to get everybody together, we kind of got to establish where everyone was. So we did the pair Callahan-Jake thing. And then during that, there's a part where Callahan talks to Jake because Jake doesn't want to leave Callahan. Mm-hmm. He's like, no, I'll die, but I'll die at your side. Like, I'm not going to leave my friend. And then Callahan speaks with Roland's voice and is like, run, get the fuck out of here.
I did like that.
And he's like, okay. And then we rewind.
I liked that Roland got to be to have a moment with Callahan.
At the end.
At the end of Callahan's life.
Yeah. They got to be in his head. Because then we rewind and we get it from from Roland's point of view. And we see that he actually was in Callahan's mind. Yeah. And we got this line. In the Kala, as in a storybook, life had been one damned thing after another. Because he's like, God damn it, now I got to take care of this now. Because he's trying to get everybody back together again because he knows the quartet shouldn't be separated. So he said he's trying to get Jake to run, and he goes, I should have schooled him better in betrayal. I didn't teach him to cut and run when it's time to cut and run.
Yep.
But he gets him to, obviously. And so Jake and Oy run off together. And Eddie and all the green ones are references to testicles. Because Eddie and Roland, I'll be honest, this was probably the most murky part for me because I was like more interested in what Jake and Oy were doing, and I was more interested in Susanna. And so every time we went back to them, I was like, okay, I'll hurry this up. I want to get back. Yeah. Because they have to finish setting up their resistance, the Tet Corporation. And so they need someone they can trust to hand all this paperwork off to so that they can go take care of business because they have to go back and do the physical thing. They have to kill people and rescue Jake and rescue Susanna. And so Roland is like, well, we'll just call that guy John Callum. And Eddie's like, oh, he left. And Roland's like, no, he didn't. No, he didn't. No. He's like, how did you know? And he's like, well, because he has to be there.
Eddie.
He's there because he must be there. And so they call.
He's our only option.
And so he must be there.
Require for us to comply with Ka. He has to be here. So he's going to be here. And if he's not, well, then I guess we'll figure it out when we get there. But
yeah. Oh, yeah. They see Susanna. That's what I was like, where is this? Why are his testicles being skewered? And yes, I remember. They had that moment where they the car starts floating and they mentally teleport to Susanna.
Oh, yeah, into the delivery room.
And that's when she tells them Chesset, which is 19, and also the password to get through the door. And this is when he's like, then before he could think any further, he cried out with pain as phantom teeth settled into his neck and cheeks and midriff, as his mouth was violently kissed by nettles and his testicles were skewered. Of course they were. I mean, this was a good moment. This was necessary, but at the same time, it felt like it took a long time to get them back together again. And I'll be honest, I kind of forgot a lot about this because so much happens after they get back together.
Oh, yeah.
Because Jake
I'm rewinding back to the beginning of the book.
And Jake and Oy have that whole thing where they have to run through the tunnels, and there's a mine trap.
Oh, yeah, and Jake gets into Oy's head.
Right.
To use his sense of smell.
This was probably the most actual anxiety that I had about an antagonist,
Right.
because most of the time the antagonists are like off page. They're
Right.
following them, or they're impotently doing whatever never pans out.
Like Fifth Element Zorg.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
exactly. Like
Yeah.
they're there, but are they really a problem? I don't think so. But like Jake is being pursued and nearly dies. Roland and Eddie are trying to get to Jake, and Susanna has been captured and is trying to escape. And this is a lot of anxiety that's all happening
Mm-hmm.
because he and Oy's just like, well, come on, Jake, you gotta keep going.
And also, going into this book, this one's different because it's the last book in the series. And, I mean, we all know Roland is going to make it to the end of the book. But everybody else, he's already lost his entire adventuring party once.
He kills a character less than 20 pages into the book.
Yeah.
He sets the tone for like everyone is fair game
So,
from the beginning.
Jake and Oy, totally expendable.
Yeah. Plus, we've been setting up that death is coming for 2 books now, where they're
Right.
like, there's
But
that
not for you, Gunslinger.
There's that moment in, well, we haven't said that in a while, but there's
Yeah.
that moment in Song of Susanna where Eddie sees Roland make that like gesture before he gets in the boat.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, oh, I need to ask him about it. And then it says, well, before he did, the specter of death would come between them. And then there's another one where it's like Roland knew that someone was going to, or felt like someone was going to die, but he never for once believed it was him.
Kashoom.
So we had been setting up that death was coming, death is imminent. And then you give me this really dramatic time at the very beginning. And it was really fucking stressful. Oh, here's the part where they're like, oh, John Callum will be there. He's like, oh, he is though. He didn't go. Like, how did you know? He goes, Ka, what the fuck does that mean? That's Eddie. He goes, who else do we know in this part of the world? No one. But then he goes, okay, then it's him. That's what Roland says. And Eddie says, we can phone him from Bridgeton, but in a story, Roland, a minor character like John Callum would never come in off the bench to save the day. It wouldn't be considered realistic. He is talking to a lot of people in this book. He's talking to readers, editors, people who have an expectation for how a book should go.
Mm-hmm.
And like, he's not breaking the fourth wall necessarily, but he is dropping
acknowledging
acknowledging that the wall is there. They're like, what was the show? Was it Magnum PI where, who's the guy with the mustache? He was in Quigley Down Under.
Oh, I have his face.
Yeah. He would look at the camera every time a joke was made. Or every time he would do like, he would side eye the camera as part of the story. Like he was aware of the audience. Tom Selleck? Yeah. He was aware of the audience. And this book feels like every once in a while, Stephen King side eyes the camera.
Yeah.
Like this book is aware of its audience, which is what a timely discussion. Maybe didn't feel as timely then, but definitely would feel more timely now, where we have really reverted to this incredibly trope heavy. Every book cover looks the same. Every book cover is formatted the blank of blank and blank, because you had an incredibly successful book called A Court of Thorns and Roses. And so everyone is like, cool, I'm going to make A Kingdom of Blood and Ash. Which is an actual book title. And I'm going to use the same curly font, and they're all going to look the same because I want my reader to be able, we want the audience, the consumer, to be able to walk into a bookstore and pick up every single book that has this title and font format and cover format and know it's going to be the exact same fucking book, and they can read it and it will be fine. And that's okay. There's a certain element of predictability.
In times of strife, people
like predictability.
Yes.
And that's fine. But we're not having the conversation about the fact that that's what that is.
Right.
We're still acting like everything's okay. Well, we're slowly, the book world is slowly edging out books that are not mainstream.
That are novel.
That are novels. Yes.
You beat me to it.
Which is there's a lot of dialogue to be had there about and that's not because I bring it up doesn't mean I'm bringing it up in form of like criticism. In a way, it's constructive criticism needs to be had about that because you cannot have passionate projects without personal involvement, without creativity.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't want to just be novel for the sake of novelty, but also it is okay to be aware. I have this discussion a lot on Feast, Sheath, and Shatter because we do a lot of those books and we're reviewing the A Court of Thorns and Roses series again.
Mm-hmm.
I wish we could have the discussion about these books are fine, but they are what they are.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Stephen King is fine. Stephen King knows who he is.
Right.
He's not asking you to think that he's literary fiction. He's telling you, I fucking know I'm not literary fiction, but you're going to buy my books anyway, which he literally says later when we meet that lady that's like, oh, I've read like 4 or 5 of them.
He's not that good.
He's not that great. And Roland's like, well, then why'd you read 4 of them? And she's like, oh, yeah, touche. Got it. Yeah. Okay. It's okay for a thing to be what it is.
Just don't pretend it's something different.
Just don't pretend it's something different. Don't tell me this is... Fourth Wing is an excellent example. This is the future of fantasy. That's what that's the discussion around Fourth Wing. I fucking hope it's not. I really hope it's not because I could probably sit down and I could shred it to ribbons to use a phrase that pops up often in romantasy because it's not a good book. And that's okay. There are definitely places for not a good book, just like there's a place for not a good movie and not a great TV show, which sometimes it's the point. Sometimes that's the point. And we've lost that. We've lost the awareness of that as a culture. We've created movies that are products. We've created books that are just products. We've created TV shows that are effectively just products.
Yeah.
Probably the only real bastion of creativity left is television.
Yeah.
Because everyone is trying to stand out and we haven't hit the formula.
It's like iPhones. Every year a new iPhone comes out, but they're not doing much with it.
I know they're just bigger. The cameras are arranged differently or whatever. But you got to believe once somebody strikes the formula for a successful TV show, they're going to keep doing it. That's why after Game of Thrones, we got a whole bunch of fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
The problem, okay, that's a whole... There's a soapbox to be had there about
Back to the Dark Tower.
But what I'm pointing out is the book itself is, yes, it's the story. Yes, it's a compelling story. If you want to read nothing into it, it's enjoyable as it is, but it's also a side eye to the audience about the concept of this type of book.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea, even at the very end, when it's going to end and he's like, okay, you can stop reading here if you want.
Like, please stop reading here.
Don't,
like,
I'm going
to. This is good enough as an ending.
Yeah.
But my editor will slap me if I don't have a more complete ending. I have to performatively put something in.
I'm going to end this book, but you're not going to like it. So just go ahead and quit right here. And I was like, I love this. I love this because I love to be engaged, and he is deliberately engaging his audience. This was my favorite book of the whole series.
Yeah, I would agree.
Yeah, and I can see why the ending was controversial. I can see that. But at the same time, how else could you have ended this series? I don't want to know what's in the tower. I'm glad he didn't tell us. I'm glad we don't know what's in the final room because it would ruin it for me.
Yeah.
To know what's there. I'd rather you leave it so that I can fill that in on my own if I want to.
Right.
And everything else is wrapped up so neatly. I don't mind that isn't wrapped up. I do feel like the happy ending is a little performative, and it was fine. But at the same time, I would have been okay without that too. The happy ending. But he had to give us that. Because otherwise, this book is so fucking depressing. You know what this reminded me of? I was thinking about it the whole time. And I'm sorry, if you haven't watched Forever Night, it's been 30 years. I'm about to spoil the ending. Everybody ready? I'm going to do it. Okay, everybody fucking dies, okay? It's scorched earth. Scorched fucking earth. That's what this felt like. I was reading it like, another one? Oh no. Oh no, another one?
Yeah, and in Forever Night, the end of Forever Night, Lacroix is like Roland.
Yeah, he's the last one.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just as he started out alone, he ends up alone.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah. So I'm moving through my things, but we've also hopped around a lot. So I have to keep remembering where we were in the book. Like page 65, we're still not together. This is a long ass book, but it's it's kind of divided into sections.
Mm-hmm.
There's like the beginning when they're all getting together. And then later there is when they're taking down the
Emphatic.
breakers.
Yeah.
Yeah, emphatic. And then after that, there's the section where
They're on the final journey.
Roland and Jake save Stephen King.
Yes.
Yeah. And then after that, it's the final push where it's just Roland and Susanna.
Yeah,
and
where Roland and Oy meet back up with Susanna after Eddie and Jake are gone.
Yeah. Here's another one Okay, so when the baby is born, I'm just going to throw this in here because it's fine. First, the description of labor is something I'm not going to discuss. We're just going to no, I didn't like it. Just leave it there. But the baby is born with a disproportionately large and fully erect penis.
Yeah. It does a good job of setting the vibe of being unsettling.
And as the chap hung there in Schuyler's grip with its penis jutting defiantly upward, I was like, what? Now, babies are born with really large testicles.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because they are getting a lot of estrogen from the mom. And so it makes the testicles swell.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that. He could have had big balls. That would have been believable, but not a giant. It's fine. Oh, such beauty, Mia crooned. Oh, see thy blue eyes. Thy skin as white as the sky before wide earth's first snow. See thy nipples, such perfect berries they are. See thy prick and thy balls, as smooth as new peaches. We talk about the jutting tip of his penis like a lot. That's what all this whole section of green notes is.
Okay.
Oh, it's fine. And then I'm just going to wrap up the section where they get together because the most important part is Oy and Jake switch places because
Mentally, yeah.
they come to that mind trap and Jake realizes that it's all about his imagination and that it's powerful enough that it could actually kill him if he's not careful.
And Jake, as the most sensitive person with the touch, is also the most susceptible to that mind trap.
Right.
And so he needs a narrower perspective on reality.
And so he's like, okay, Oy, switch places. And Oy's like, I mean, if we must. And so Oy's trying to walk. It's like, this fucking sucks. And poor Jake is in Oy's body. Yeah. Yeah. It's a sweet moment. And they make it through the mine trap and then they keep running and then the Cantoy guys that are behind them get stuck and they end up breaking it. They destroy the glass. And then Jake has his back to the door, knowing he's not going to be able to get through it. And they're running up on him. And Roland straight up kills them all. Doesn't he? No, Jake does? Somebody kills them all. God, well, how did I forget all of this? Yeah. Because Roland is like, I'm going to kill him. I'm going to kill them for killing Callahan. I'm going to kill him for threatening Jake. Because he goes, Roland nodded, but I believe we have a little work to do first against those who killed Callahan and then tried to kill Jake. Oh, no. Jake gets through the door. Mm-hmm. Jake gets through the door because he remembers the name of the... Susanna wakes up long enough to tell him the password because she's fallen asleep against the door. Yeah. Because she gets the butler robot, Nigel. You want to talk about Forever Night? Whose name is not Nigel, but she calls him Nigel because he has a British accent. Yeah. And he carries her to the door and then she falls asleep. And then she wakes up long enough to tell Jake the password and he gets through. And so they're stuck at the door because they're supposed to get Jake. They didn't get Jake. If they go back, they're going to die. So they're just waiting there. But he goes, his face didn't change as he spoke, but both Eddie Dean and John Collin felt a chill. For a moment, it was almost impossible to look at the gunslinger. So came, although they did not know it, which was likely more mercy than such as they deserved, the death sentence of Flaherty and the Tahine Lama and their quartet. Roland was like, oh no, wait a minute. I have business. And they're all like, oh my God, he's going to fucking kill him. And he does. He kills them all. Yeah.
Got some cleanup to do.
I mean, Roland is a different character in every book, which is not a complaint, right?
Mhm.
But he has grown. He is not a character that grows, and yet somehow he has grown from book 1 all the way to book 7. And I do like that moment with Randall Flagg when they finally fucking explain how Roland saw a skeleton and thought that he died.
It feels like such a retcon.
Because it is. It
Yeah.
is. He was like, oh yeah, he fell asleep, so I found a skeleton and I dressed it in my robe and then I ran away.
I really like that story.
And I was like, oh.
So he's not some all-powerful bad guy.
No, he's just a douchebag. He's like, he's a mediocre white demon. I don't know what to tell you. He's just like, it was, yeah, it was a good moment because they finally get together and Nigel's like, hey, you guys want some sandwiches? That's what happens at first. They finally are all together for the first time since not Song of Susanna, because they're all separate in Song of Susanna.
Wolves at the Kala, right?
No, the very beginning of Song of Susanna.
Oh.
They get blown through the doors. Or whatever the one before that is.
I thought at the end of Wolves of the Kala, Susanna disappears.
Oh, yeah.
Susanna
yes.
Mia.
Yes. Yeah, and then Song of Susanna, the rest of the party splits up.
Yeah.
And so since the end of Wolves of the Kala, this is the first time everyone has been present in the room all together, all at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So they have a moment. They have some lunch. And then they're like, cool, time to get to Fedek, or time to move on, like time to find the breakers. And I do like that some conversation happens off page where they catch each other up and some happens on page, but they all know what happened with each other.
Yeah.
Stephen King doesn't for once use the miscommunication trope, I think, in the entirety of The Dark Tower.
Except for the only time you've complained about it is when Roland is aware that something's going on with Susanna and she may still be pregnant and the baby may be a demon.
That's the only time he doesn't, and he's conflicted about it, and yet he tells other people, and then when it finally becomes an issue, he immediately divulges the information.
Right.
This isn't
Right, and that's the most prominent case of Stephen King, the author, using the omission or miscommunication.
Yeah. And after they get together and they're all talking about it, Jake is talking about how he got that key. He and Per Callahan got the key.
Mm-hmm.
Dada chum, dada chi. Look at you, you've got the key or whatever. And he's got the key to the hotel room that had Black 13, which is from Song of Susanna. And Eddie's like, oh, of course, the writer. Because Roland is like, oh, yeah, no, he probably left that for you. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't like Stephen King, Eddie especially, which I think is hysterical because he wrote these characters and they don't like him.
Yeah.
And he's talking about how Deus Ex Machina. He's explaining Deus Ex Machina because he's like, the basic concept was that if a playwright got himself into a corner, he could send down a god who arrived in a flower-decked bucka wagon from overhead and rescued the characters who were in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
He uses so much Deus Ex Machina in this book, and it was really, and is recognized as such.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, to get you through to the next part, here you go. Doink. I personally, Stephen King, will come down from heaven and provide you with what you need to move forward, which is just another element of him side-eyeing the audience.
Right.
Of like, it happens. You write yourself into a corner sometimes. Here we go. I'm going to write you out.
Right. I'm just not pretending that I'm not doing Deus Ex Machina.
Oh, and then this was a part with the second person that I really liked. And this is when they're talking about Mordred And Mordred really could have just been this sinister, disgusting character.
Mm-hmm.
And he is a little bit that, but he's also just a child.
Yeah.
And a child that was abandoned by everyone. And it's a very...
We get a lot of compassion and pity towards Mordred.
Right.
Especially from Roland and Susanna.
Right. And it's not a character you would normally pity. And yet the way Stephen King writes him, even when he's doing bad things, you're like, oh, maybe he wouldn't have done that if he actually had a dad.
Right.
Because he's hanging out in the Dogan, in like the security center or whatever, and he eats a bumbler, which Oif senses.
Mm-hmm.
So I wonder if all the bumblers are connected.
Like a hive mind?
Like a hive mind, or if Oi, they hypothesized that Oi might be particularly sensitive, and that's why he got ousted from his own group. Because remember when they found him, he was in rough shape.
Yeah.
And this is at the end of that chapter, Stephen King steps back into second person again. And he goes, "Look, if you would, here sits a baby with blood streaking his fair skin. Here sits a baby weeping his silent, eerie tears. If Ka is a train, and it is, a vast, hurtling mono, maybe sane, maybe not, then this nasty little lycanthrope is its most vulnerable hostage."
You know what the second person perspective, the way he uses it, reminds me of is when you have someone like Roland, like at a campfire at night, telling stories, and the stories are supposed to be like proverbial.
Yeah.
Like, this is a story about whatever, but it's also a lesson.
Yes.
And so I'm going to be explaining things like, you pay attention now because...
To this section. It feels like a play, like a stage play where you
Oh,
would have
yeah.
a narrator step out and be like, you see these people on the stage. I think they do that in Our Town, where you have like...
You're giving the audience context.
Right. You are stepping out and you are providing, you're speaking directly to the audience.
But also like the village elder.
Right.
Like passing on the oral histories and stuff.
Right. Like, here's the section I want you to pay attention to. And he says, he is the last miracle ever to be spawned by the still standing dark tower. The scarred wedding of the rational and the irrational, the natural and the supernatural. One might argue the reason and the
purpose and the chaos.
The purpose and the chaos. And yet he is alone. Destiny may have intended him to rule a chain of universes or destroy them all, but so far he has succeeded in establishing dominion over nothing but one old domestic robot who has now gone to the clearing at the end of the path. He ends up doing nothing. He ends up amounting to nothing, killing no one except Randall Flagg, which was just a way to get rid of Randall Flagg.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know. This was just okay. All right. Because then that section is ended. And really, Mordred is not a character again until the very end. I mean, we gets that one moment because from here we travel to Fedek. And when we get to Fedek, we're met by
three characters.
The guy from Hearts in Atlantis. Shimi, of all people.
From Magus.
Like, oh, you know what I was really glad about? Because I listened to sections of it on an audiobook. Because sometimes I'm trying to move through the book, I'm doing stuff, and I'm like, I'll just throw the audiobook on for a minute, and then I'll finish with the book itself. And I was so glad that the original reader did not read Shimi again. I didn't know if I could go through another Shimi voice moment. Oh, Mr. Romanthal.
Yeah, the like speech impediment.
Yeah, that he gave him for some reason, even though it's not written that way. But he keeps calling him Will Dearborn that was. It was a really sweet reunion moment that they had. And why did I forget everybody else's name? Dinky. Isn't one of them Dinky? Oh, yeah. He pounced upon Randall Flagg, Walter O'Dim, Walter Padrick that was. There were more screams, but only a few. And then Roland's old enemy was no more.
Yep. All right.
All that, and he did.
Closed that storyline.
Yeah. Dinky Earnshaw.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And Tom Brannigan? I cannot
We can just
believe.
say Brannigan. A lot of times Ted Brannigan.
Ted. Okay, thank you.
A lot of times we
And
only
Shimi.
refer to him as Brannigan.
God. It's like a Wild West town, though.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Wild West town, but the facade of a Wild West town. Where
Yes.
all of these people who are really psychic all live. And they spend all of their time breaking the beams.
Right.
And they're like, but it feels good. This was the one part where I was like, I mean, I get it, but also he keeps trying to explain to us why these people are willing to do this. And he's like, oh, because it feels good. To break is divine, is what they keep saying.
Mm-hmm.
And you want me to believe that literally all of these psychic people are completely willing to destroy the world, including themselves. Because when the final beam breaks, they will die.
This reminded me of the Breakers and the way they participate in the breaking kind of reminded me of this story from another book where there's these magic users. They have these artifacts that they end up. One of the artifacts puts like they call them, I think, the tenants, but it's like in Wheel of Time. They have the Aes Sedai have to swear the oaths on the oath rod.
Yeah.
These people have something similar, except it's a little more. There's a bloodline involved that can, like, set the rules. They can change the rules. But then every, like, regular magic user is bound to the rules, which ends up being a whole thing because it just affects everyone on the planet that can use magic and binds them to these rules, even if they're not in the country with the, like, king guy who can set the rules. Anyway, and then if you break the rules, or if you cannot learn to master your abilities, which, like, one of the rules is you have to, not the tenants, but the rules on the magic people.
Yeah.
You have to learn to control your abilities sufficiently. And if you can't, or you break the rules, then you get turned into what they call a shadow. And it's another thing they put on you, and it cuts off your magical ability. And they think it's cutting off their magical ability, just like permanently severing it. But it's actually hooking them up to this other kind of bigger machine artifact thing that's siphoning off their ability, their like magical power, so that this big evil bad guy can use their power for them as if it were their own.
Okay.
And so by siphoning off all these magic users' power, it's empowering this big evil bad guy. And so the Breakers kind of reminded me of that, because the Breakers, when they're breaking, they're just like in the room, in the machine. They're not like actively, consciously involved in doing the breaking. They just go into the room, and the room/machine makes use of their psychic ability to do the breaking. And for them, it feels good when they're being used that way. So that makes it a little more plausible.
Less intentional.
They're all going along with it.
Yeah.
Because they can kind of delude themselves that they aren't. I'm
aren't
not doing anything. I'm just in the room here.
Well, he goes to great lengths to try to get us to understand the motivation of these characters that are doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that he says is that they're all like sociopaths, or they're all really selfish.
Mm-hmm.
Because the fact that Dinky even cared that Shimi was crying was incredibly unique.
Yeah.
And he goes, some of the Hume guards call us Morks after a space alien in some television comedy. Okay. And Morks are the most selfish people on earth. And he's like, it basically describes it as if you have an extra cigarette or two, no one is more sympathetic or admiring than a Mork in need of a smoke. But once he's got it, he's gone.
Mm-hmm.
So they're all narcissistic.
Yeah.
Like the talent, this type of
So I
talent
think
tends to overlap
they
with.
select for that when they're recruiting the breakers.
Yeah.
But then they also foster this very toxic, narcissistic culture.
Well, by giving them everything that they want.
Right.
All of their needs are taken care of, physical, everything.
Right. And then they have the whole, like, not VR, like magic VR, where they can have whatever indulgent fantasy they want.
It's like a
they
holodeck.
can indulge in. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. And this is another one. Most Morks are selfish introverts masquerading as rugged individualists. They want the world to see them as Daniel Boone types. And the Al Ghul staff loves it. Believe me, no community is easier to govern than one that rejects the very concept of community.
Incels.
So it's basically like...
It's kind of a commentary on late-stage capitalist
It feels
society.
a bit like if it's another side eye. Honestly, You're right. I should frame it that way. It's another side eye where it's like, it's not harming me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not being hurt. Why should I care?
Yep.
Yeah, I might die, but I'm fine. Because as soon as they free them all, they're like, who's going to take care of us now?
Mm-hmm.
That was one of my favorite sections because Roland is like, if you don't want to die, get the fuck out of my way. That was such a good scene.
I did appreciate that Roland still had compassion for them as people who were being used.
Yeah.
Even though they were being, selected / molded.
He just wasn't kind to them.
Right.
He didn't kill them, though.
he had compassion for them.
Yeah.
But he didn't necessarily blame them.
This is more or less a commentary on the harm you can do when you are not considering anyone but yourself, which might be something that Stephen King is working through. Remember, this all is a bit him working through his shit.
Yeah.
And, he had a period of time where he had substance abuse disorder. Mm-hmm. And he had a period of time where I'm sure it was all about Stephen and how successful Stephen was.
Oh,
and having to, he's funny. I know he's on social media. He's made a couple of comments where you're like, Stephen, did you finish working through things? Do you need more healing time? But this might be like I'm a lone man. I'm the lone wolf. I'm the sovereign individual. I'm the guy alone by himself. I can take care of everything. Kind of like we have a friend, a neighbor, I would say, who is very, I don't exist on paper. I've never used my social security number. I get by without the government knowing I exist. And I can do all of this on my own. I need no one. Meanwhile, his wife works. His wife pays the bills. His wife owns the house. His wife owns the cars. His wife pays the taxes.
He still drives on the roads. He still depends on the infrastructure of the local community.
He still spends his wife's money.
Yep.
He eats the food his wife's money pays for. He drives the cars his wife's money pays for.
Libertarians are house cats.
Yes, libertarians are house cats, entirely convinced of their own independence, yet also entirely dependent on a system in order to stay alive. Yeah. Yes, I don't need you. Oh, my food bowl is empty. Can you put more food in it? And that, I think, is part of what is all wrapped up in this. And this... And ultimately leads us to one of the first, Per Callahan dying was sad. And this section was probably the first hardest part of this book.
And I think I was driving, listening to the audiobook when this happened. And I was like... It's a good thing I'm not at home. Otherwise, Rachel would ask me what's wrong.
Well, they're like, and it's pick through this whole section because when they first get there, they all feel bad. And Roland sits down with them and he's like, I know we're all feeling it. And I'm just letting you guys know this is a thing called kashum. And it means that the quartet is about to be broken. And
he has this kind of ritual that he goes through with each of them.
And oh my God. Like, are you kidding me right now? Where he's like, I love you. And he kisses them. And he goes through, because he doesn't think it's going to be him, but he wants them all to have this moment where they're like together at last, together.
Yeah.
And then we keep having these moments like the guy in charge of Al Ghul Siento or whatever, Blue Heaven, puts his gun in his Docker's clutch and then forgets to take it out. And Stephen King's like, this is just one step and in one minor thing that will lead to the tragedy. He keeps picking at like leading you up to it just very slowly. It's not quite time yet. And then they listen to that whole story that Ted leaves for them. And this is when Mordred is outside listening and he's like, oh, I kind of like this loneliness thing. Like this. I feel like our daughter is going through this phase right now where it's like, I want to be different and alone and special. And because it makes me feel unique. And that's where Mordred is when he's mentally where Mordred is. He's a tween when he's listening to these tapes. And he's like, I just want to be alone and like feel this loneliness. And then, hey, bye-bye, Mordred. We never see you again. Or at least not till the very end. But they end up freeing the Breakers. Through just a series of events. I don't know, read the book. And then, this was funny. I wanted to look this up. They hide behind a car that has Soo line written on it. SOO. Soo. Like the Sioux. Like
Sault Ste. Marie.
Like Sault Ste. Marie, which is a place we live near. And I was like, I wonder if, because there's a train tracks that go straight through there. I wonder if there was a Soo line. I meant to look it up. Oh, yeah. I don't know why I didn't highlight any of the section where Eddie got... Oh, because I think I listened to it.
Yeah.
When he got shot. Because we have that moment where they're all hugging. They finally free everybody, and they're like, hell yeah, we did it. And so they're hugging, embracing each other, always barking around their feet. And he literally says, this is how I want you to remember them.
Yeah.
Steven says, this is how I want you to remember them. And then the stupid little Pimley or whatever pulls his gun out and shoots Eddie in the head.
Yep.
And he just goes, Suze? And falls down. And he doesn't die right away, but they know he's dying. So they take him to the infirmary. And we do get his like last best moment, which is a trope, but it's fine.
Yeah.
And it's actually a thing that can happen where you get people that have severe dementia or whatever can have like a last lucid moment right before death. And we don't know why. It's just a thing that happens. And Eddie gets that. And Suzanne is like, oh, good, you're getting better. And he goes, don't bullshit a bullshitter.
I use that line a lot.
I know, that's why I highlighted it. I'm going, sweetheart, not coming.
Yeah.
And then he gets to tell everybody something. And he tells Jake, beware of Dandelo, but he also gets to say goodbye. And this was so fucking hard to read. I did not cry as hard when Eddie died as I did in a little bit when someone else dies again. Poor Jake. He literally dies 3 times. He gets run over by a car. And then he gets dropped down
a crevice.
Like a mine shaft.
Yeah.
And then he gets run over by a car again. It's not funny. But at the same time, Steve, what did you have against Jake's character?
Who was Jake to you?
Did he hurt you? How did he hurt you? But yeah. And that's like halfway through the book. And then Roland is wrestling with that because they are all using Eddie's phrases because Eddie has like a funny turn of speech. And then they'll be like, oh.
And then later Roland tells a joke, the kind of joke that Eddie would have told.
Yeah.
And Susanna's like, bruh.
She goes, it wasn't really funny, but like, thank you for trying.
Yeah.
Oh, that was so hard.
And I thought, okay, we have to be getting close to the end. I was like, I'm only halfway through the book.
There's a phrase that I know. There's a phrase they get thrown around a lot in book talk called plot armor.
Mm,
And it's characters that are protected by the plot.
yeah.
You assume they're going to be fine. And I got to be honest. I knew people were going to die. I didn't know everyone was going to die.
Yeah.
I didn't know everybody was going to die. Well, Susanna doesn't die. And I don't know what it says about me, but that always makes me like a book better. Makes me like a book more. I think that's why I like Jay Kristoff so much.
Yeah.
No one is safe.
Right.
And so everything feels real. And that's why I don't like a lot of romantasy books, because everyone's plot armor is so strong. Nobody dies.
Yeah.
Literally nobody dies. And if every once in a while they'll be like, oh no, someone needs to die to prove the situation is serious. They just pick a random side character and kill them off. And then the book talk, they call them book talk girlies, which is just so
pedantic.
I can't. It's infantilizing.
Yeah.
It's fine. The book talk individuals who are active in that community will all lose their mind. Oh, he died. Oh, so sad. Oh my God. I'm like, he got mentioned 3 times. That happened in not Fourth Wing, not Iron Flame, but Onyx Storm, the 3rd one. I'm sorry. Don't read Onyx Storm. So I'm going to go ahead and spoil it for you anyway. But there's a character that dies. They're on, oh my God. Okay. I had to read Stephen King and then go back to this. That was probably part of the problem.
Mm-hmm.
Is Stephen King calls himself like America's Schlockmeister or whatever. Like he thinks he just whips out these terrible books, but every once in a while he has these moments of such divine brilliance that you're like, Steve, I think you need to give yourself more credit.
It's like the Tumblr philosophy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't believe for a minute that Rebecca Yarros is ever going to write anything brilliant unless an editor puts it in there and she forgets to delete it. Rebecca Yarros being the author of Fourth Wing. And do I judge Rebecca Yarros? Heavily. Heavily. If you like Rebecca Yarros, this is not a Rebecca Yarros fan cast. It is the exact opposite. But in Onyx Storm, there's a whole section where they're going through these islands. And I fully believe this section is AI written because it is so poorly written.
Mm-hmm.
But they go to an island, they land on the island, and to get onto the island, they have to draw a card. Don't fucking ask me. And the thing on the card they have to do. So one of them draws a card, and it's like they get a broken compass. One of them draws a card, and they get a wooden box with like thread in it. And then another one draws a card, and it has an arrow on it, and somebody shoots him in the heart, and he dies. And they're all like, no, not the character whose name no one knows. He's dying to prove the situation is serious. And on BookTok, they were all like, oh, I cried. I'm like, for what? We didn't even know who I didn't care. He had a kitten. If he'd killed the kitten, I probably would have cried. Other than that, did I cry when Eddie died? Oh, my fucking God, did I cry when Eddie died? Because you never believe anyone is really that safe.
Right. Right. Even earlier when Kashum first comes up and it says, never once did Roland think that he would be the one to die.
They've been saying it's going to be Roland for a long time. Yeah. In
retrospect, it's... So the first time I read it, I thought, oh, they're King is implying that Roland will be the one who dies, and it'll be a surprise to everybody, including Roland.
Yeah.
But no, it's more that Roland is correct.
Yeah.
In his belief that he would not be the one to die.
Roland knows he's going to be standing alone among the wreckage.
Right.
Yeah.
But almost like his curse is that
he will not die.
Always be the one that survives.
Is Roland an element of higher purpose?
I was going to bring that up. I think in retrospect, with the ending, the final ending.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think Roland is like an agent of high purpose.
I would assume he is like godlike almost, because he is of infinite age at this point, and
Right.
he is stuck in a time loop of generations
Mm-hmm.
where he is sent back thousands of years into the past over and over again because he goes, not again. That's what happens when he opens the door.
Yeah.
Like, no, don't send me back. As if he is being given the chance to do it over and over again until he gets it. He's reloading his save, or what do we call it?
New Game Plus. Because, okay, so skipping all the way to the final ending
Yeah,
that
which,
Stephen
let's
King
just
says,
follow the discussion
don't.
where it's going.
He says, stop right here if you're fine with that. The next ending is just because I have to write an ending because it's a book and
Yeah.
it has to be published in the world that we live in. Yeah, so Roland reflects,
Relives
recalls.
his life.
Well, he recalls several times that he loses this horn
Yeah.
back when he's still hanging out with Elaine and Cuthbert.
Yeah, on Jericho Hill.
Yeah. And he left it behind. And when Roland finally gets to the top of the tower, he's seeing all of these artifacts of his life.
And he's like, why didn't I just pick up the horn? It would have taken me 2 seconds.
Right. And so then he walks through the door and he says, not again. And then they mention that he did have the horn.
Yeah.
Like, he has the horn with him, I think.
Yeah, he has it on his belt.
And so I thought, okay, this is a cycle. It's not a circle. It's a spiral.
Yeah. Like the tower itself.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I wonder if every time he goes, the tower is taller.
Do you think he's gone through it 19 times?
Maybe that's why 19 is so prominent.
Yeah.
And the next time it'll be 20.
20.
But I was thinking of like karmic cycles where every time you go through and you live your life a little bit better. And I thought maybe every time he goes through this cycle, he gets to change one thing, kind of like Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
And he's going to continue doing this until everyone survives. Well, maybe not everyone survives, but until he has no regrets.
Yeah. Which may not be everybody surviving, but it might be.
Right?
Yeah. I liked that ending. We'll get there. We'll get there.
Yes, I like how open that leaves the story.
Yes.
And I thought that would be an in-lore justification for the rewrite of Gunslinger.
Yeah.
Where he had the original Gunslinger that was published serial in magazines, right?
I don't.
And then it got.
I think we're thinking Dune, but the first one came out in 1970, and he just wasn't happy with it. There was things he wanted to do to it.
Right, and then he rewrote it in like 2003.
When he started redoing these,
yeah,
he edited it and re-released it.
Yeah, he changed a few things, and I thought that maybe that the original publication of the Gunslinger was like the 18.
Yeah, well, he says even my past is in flux.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And even my memories are changing.
It's a wonderful way for him to leave himself open to revisit this world as needed. And honestly, when we talked about the wind through the keyhole, we were like, well, what would it feel like to have read that after you read all of The Dark Tower? I kind of wish we'd waited because it would have been like revisiting.
Like, this is his next.
No, imagine you read The Dark Tower and everybody fucking died. And then another book came out and it was just a sweet moment of them hanging out.
Yeah.
Being back together, everyone being alive, Oy being alive, Jake being alive, Eddie being alive. And them being back together again.
Yeah.
That would have been like, oh, okay, great. Like, I get a moment with them again.
Yeah.
You want to know where I fucking ugly cried? Is when Jake died.
Yeah.
And not just when he died, but Roland's eulogy.
Yes.
I am going to make an attempt to read that out loud in a little bit here.
Do you want me to read it?
I'm going to try. I'm going to try. Because after Eddie dies, they have to go stay Stephen King because time is still passing in the Keystone world. And it's getting closer and closer to when Stephen is going to die. And the only way they can get there is for Shimi to take them there. Because Shimi can
Shimi
teleport.
is a teleporter. I did like the kind of supernatural, mechanistic explanation that you don't fuck with teleporters.
Yeah.
Because teleporters are the most dangerous. Because they could teleport like a vacuum from space and just cause a giant explosion.
Yeah.
And it's like nothing, like zero effort, maximum destruction.
Yeah.
And they missed it on Shimi.
Right. Well, they were messing with the telemetry. Ted was suppressing the telemetry.
Dinky and Brannigan
Yeah,
were...
they said they have no idea how
right,
easily manipulated their telemetry is.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're not supposed to use their abilities outside of the room, and they have been.
Right.
And they would track that with the telemetry, but they've been faking it.
Yep.
So they need to hurry, and they leave Susanna because she's getting Eddie ready to be buried.
Yep.
So he gets buried off page.
Mm-hmm.
She's prepping him. And I did like how much of a child Jake is. I like the way Stephen King writes Jake, where he is both wise beyond his years, but also still a child.
Mm-hmm.
Because he's capable of doing all of these things, but he's also scared to go look at Eddie when Eddie's dying.
Yeah.
And I can totally understand that because we sat with my dad and it's hard at the end. Especially, they talk about the death rattle. Well, it's really just that you're not swallowing anymore. And so you get this buildup of mucus and spit in your mouth and it makes like a really loud, grating, rattling sound. And it's not just the breathing. It's knowing that's not going to get better.
Right.
That they're not going to wake up and start doing that again. Not going to start taking care of themselves again. That's probably the hardest part, is knowing that, like, that's the beginning of the end.
Mm-hmm.
And he's scared. He doesn't want to go. And Roland ends up calling him, and he runs in. He gets there.
Yeah.
And they were there with him when he dies. And that was all just a lot. And then they have to go save Stephen King. And they're like, they could save the writer and come a step closer to saving the tower by doing so. But one of them was going to die doing it. Jake knew that too.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, oh no. Because the whole time Roland's like, it's going to be me. It's going to be me this time.
Yeah.
Like, I'm going to be the one that gets to die. And everybody else has to keep going towards the tower. During the long years he had spent on the trail of the man in black, the gunslinger would have sworn nothing in the universe could have caused him to renounce the tower. Had he not literally killed his own mother in pursuit of it back at the start of his terrible career? But in those years, he had been friendless, childless, and he didn't like to admit it, but it was true, heartless. He had been bewitched by that cold romance, the loveless mistake for love. And now he's like, I would die for Jake instead of getting to the tower.
Mm-hmm.
And then they end up kidnapping a woman named Irene, which I think is, I love Irene. I loved Irene because Irene is like, I am having the best day.
She kind of cooperates with the kidnapping.
Yeah. Oh, she does. At first, she's like, oh no, I'm being kidnapped. And then she's like, oh no, stop, big burly stranger. Don't make me get in the... Which is another, I hate to keep bringing up book talk, but there's a whole subsection of book talk that do dark romance, which is like kidnap fantasies. And it's not a thing that I engage in actively, intentionally, ever, often. But that's a bit Irene, where she's like, oh no, Mr. Clint Eastwood walked off screen. 1970s Clint Eastwood walked off screen and was like, get in the car, Irene. And she was like, okay. She ends up having sex with him too. She's like, oh, it would be a real shame if we were to have sex right now. And he's like, I mean, if you want to, that's fine. It's such a weird moment too, because he's sad and she's like, this will cheer him up. It will cheer me up and it will cheer him up too. And she's like, it was really good. I wonder what it would have been like if he'd actually been into it. And we keep getting these italics sections in the book. You listen to it, but it's the sections where you're getting it from Stephen King's point of view, you're getting the guy in the car's point of view, and you're getting these really long, this is such a drawn out scene, and I really love that because he didn't rush anything in this. He fully took the amount of time that it took for him to feel like he had fully told each section of the story.
Yeah.
And I love that.
Right, where they're tracking him down. Where is he?
Yeah.
He's on the road. Where on the road is he? And then interspersed is, here's this guy driving a van and his dogs are in the back digging through his cooler, and so he's distracted.
Yeah. It's very like in a movie when you keep getting the clips and you know something bad is coming, like you see the car driving down the road and you keep cutting away to like the cat pouncing by the side of the road, and then you see the car, and then you see the animal, and then you see the car, and you know what's coming, and it just drives the anxiety up so much. Right. And they get there just in time to see this car barreling at Stephen King, and Roland goes to jump out of the car and his hip gives out.
Yeah.
And Eddie, because Eddie's already dead, Jake jumps right over him and takes the hit for Stephen and gets run over. And Roland runs over and he's like, oh, he's going to be fine. He's okay. He looks okay. Everything's going to be okay. He's not okay. He's definitely dying. And he's like, you got to go take care of Stephen King. That's what we came here for. It's okay. Yep. You don't have to be here with me right now. I know I've died enough times. I know I'm dying.
It's cool. This ain't my first rodeo.
It's not even my second rodeo. So you can go. You can go. Irene will be with me. It's fine. Yeah. And Oy's with him. Oh my God, Oy. Oy stops talking after Jake dies.
Yep.
And it's so hard. And then Roland is fucking pissed at Stephen King. His characters are mad at him. And I want someone to break this down because he wrote this book. And his characters are disappointed in him as a person.
I feel like, especially Roland and Eddie, are Stephen King's internalized criticism of himself.
Yeah.
In narrative form.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because they say
the things they say about Stephen King are things that he says about himself inside his head.
Right.
Yeah.
And so the people in his head are saying it to him too.
I wonder if Stephen King went to a therapist and ended up like acknowledging all of these criticisms about himself and was like, wow, that was a lot.
Is this his
version? That's really
of
good fuel for my characters.
Is this his version of talk therapy?
Yeah.
Where he's getting these people to say things to him? Or like step therapy, like when you go to AA and you have to get forgiveness from people you've wronged. And so that includes his characters. Because he goes, that's why we're here. Why we had to come here. One of my friends is dead. Another may be dying. And the tet is broken. All because one lazy, fearful man stopped doing the job for which Ka intended him. That's what he tells Stephen King. Because Stephen King's like, well, why are you here? And he's like, because you're a fucking lazy ass. And as soon as you stopped writing about the Dark Tower, you lost all the protection that you had. And so we had to come and save your ass. And we died in the process. And Stephen King's like, oh no. But he doesn't remember because Roland hypnotizes him.
Yeah.
And I actually think right before we discuss Jake's death and then the subsequent second, really the ending of the Dark Tower, let's pause and we'll do a part 1 because I have a feeling part 2, when we get to the ending, we're going to have a lot to talk about and I don't want us to feel rushed. Because I, like
Some
Steven,
of us have a day job.
Well, I, like Steven, want to take the time that it takes to fully explore this because it took us so long to get here. And I think there is a lot of discussion to be had about the ending and about why it felt controversial to people and also why I thought it was necessary and why it makes me love Roland as a character even more, and it honestly makes me want to go back and reread all of the Dark Tower
through that lens.
Yeah. And I think that there's a lot to be discussed there. So let's just leave it here and we'll put part 2 out really quick. I swear to God. I swear it is not going to be like last time. I'm running out of cats. Okay. So it can't be that. So we'll get part 2 out really quickly, but I just feel like a lot happened for Stephen King in this book,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of it was in there for himself, but also in there for the readers, and it deserves the time it takes to talk about it. So
Sometimes the strangest things are the most beautiful too.
be who you are and love what you love. Until next time, friends.
Bye.
Bye.